tab 3, legislative update with Representative Chris Stearns.
So as he's coming forward, Vice Chair, may I just give an opening in terms of, do you want to go ahead and forward?
Rise.
Yes, Representative Stearns. So he's going to give a presentation on the defining the rules for the legislature and those of the commissioners. And so I thought I would just, if I may, just go through your bio real quick for those of you, for everybody who doesn't know. But Representative Stearns represents the 47th district and has been a long-term resident of Auburn and has served and continues to serve as the first Native American member of the Auburn City Council. I guess you don't continue to serve.
I think that's old.
Yes. Okay. Well, the main point is that he has been a commissioner at the Washington State Gambling Commission and actually was served as chair for almost all of your 5 or 6 years north here.
A few of them.
And now he's a representative, and so we felt that this was appropriate conversation since he has served in both roles, and it's good for us to just pause and consider what those different roles are and actually reflect then on he can speak to what really the declaration, legislative declaration of forming the Gambling Commission in terms of statutory is as well. So I turn it over to him. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Director. Yeah, thank you for loading the PowerPoint too. So I was asked to talk, I think, really based upon my experience as being both the chair of the commission as well as serving in the House. And you know, I guess I'll start by saying, so if we go to the next slide. You know, after the tolerance years ended, and there were some prosecutions, the state really revamped its entire gambling policy. In I think in STR 5, that was 72, that was allowed to put gambling, or lottery as it was still known, on the ballot in 1973, and so that passed. The state declared its policy, which is basically, I think the mission sort of restates that a little bit better, basically to keep gambling legal and honest. And that's it. That's what you do. And then the last part says by strict regulation and control. And that is, you know, what I recall as being sort of essential or core to our function. I mean, we debated this, I think the first or second year I was on the commission, we had a retreat in Spokane, and we created a strategy. So I don't know if there have been future strategies, but we did one in 2014, I think is when we voted on it. And that was to create an agency strategy for the next 5 years. And part of that was, you know, what is it that we really do? So, you know, the first part really dealt with law enforcement. How do we keep the criminal element out? And then the second part was, how do we encourage compliance with the law, with you know, keeping players safe and having gaming be transparent. Those were our 2 missions. I will say that during the course of my work on the commission, we were confronted with changes in the industry. And so, for instance, there was a decline in paper products. Pull tabs, and we were asked you know, by the industry, is there anything that we could do as commissioners, as you could do, to help save the industry? And the answer was, this is what we do. We don't serve the industry. We are neutral. Our job is to keep the criminal element out of your industry, and then also to encourage compliance by regulation. And that wasn't really, you know, that wasn't at all what the industry had hoped to hear. But that's how we viewed our duties. So we can go to the next slide. I will, well, we can go past that one. I think we just did that. So we can go past that one, and we can compare it to the other gambling commissions in our state. And so lottery which is a state product and operated by the state. They have a different mission. Their job actually is to sell tickets. And that's probably the definition of promoting an industry. It's their own industry, and they are designed and charged with maximizing the amount of money that comes into the state. So they are totally built to support their own industry. The next slide, please. And the Horse Racing Commission. Also, they are designed, they are built, charged with protecting and building the horse racing industry. So those are two, so number one, they're totally different missions from the Gambling Commission. The Gambling Commission says nothing about promoting the industry in their legislative purpose, as opposed to horse racing and lottery. And I think, I don't want to get too lawyerly, but I mean, you can definitely make some inferences that when the legislature passes a law, it knows what it's doing. And so when it wants an agency to promote or build an industry, we say so. And when we don't say so. I think that may be the last slide. Is there another one?
Nicole is operating
That is the last slide.
I think that is. Okay. So that really, in a nutshell, is what I wanted to really highlight, because I should say you, but in my experience as a commissioner, this is a pretty big industry in our state, and it is always changing. When I was on the commission, the next big thing was, well, we had Black Friday, but then internet poker, that was big. Then it was daily fantasy sports. Then it became sports betting. And now, you've got to handle sweepstakes, prediction markets, various crypto products that I just learned this week what a crypto mixer is. I was at the Racing and Gaming Conference, and we had the crypto people there explaining all the new products. And crypto mixing is strictly designed to defeat AML. So, good luck to you guys. But, I think as you look at the challenges that you're facing, I mean, there will always be, pressures. I mean, this is really, I think, in our state, the legislature, which makes policy, we did it in very much a hands-off approach. And so the market drives things, and we are not, we're not in charge of changing the market to meeting what the industry demands. The industry goes up and down. I think when I started, there were a lot more card rooms than, well, I know there were a lot more card rooms than where there are now. There was a lot more paper products. But, you can see that in the travel industry. There were a lot more Class 3 machines than there are now. Class 2 is dominated. And now we're sort of, as a state, slowly dipping our toes into digital and mobile through on-premise sports betting. So you will see the market change, and you will see industries grow. And then you'll see industries decline. That will always be part of gambling. Gambling's been around forever, as you guys know. So, it's not going to stop. It's just going to take different forms. And I would say that, lastly, yeah, when it does come to policy, that is, that is the principal job of the legislature, to set that policy. And I think, so my view is that the legislature has done a great job. I'm proud to, work with Representative Kloba and Senator Conway on these issues. Good to meet Senator Holy on this stuff too, and Kevin. I mean, Representative Waters, great guy. Liverpool, I don't know about that, but I think the legislature does take its job of setting policy very seriously. We do have to balance how much gambling should there be. And maybe that's what I'll end on, is that when I was chair, I think the first thing I did was to order a statewide market study of gambling. We ended up hiring Spectrum. They did an amazing job on that, but we found that, unlike, say, the East Coast, gambling in Washington is really well spread out. And people like that. They don't always want a proliferation of gambling everywhere, but they're really happy with gambling being spread out, and that it occurs largely on tribal reservations. and the people support that. So I think that as a legislature, that's what we're trying to also bear in mind as we deal with new products that come along, and that you will deal with as you face pressure to save one industry or another. And as you can see, that's really, in my view, that's not the role of the Gambling Commission. So I just wanted to make those points, and be glad to answer any questions if you guys have any.
Yeah, are there any questions or discussion from the commissioners? Representative Stearns, I appreciate your perspective, and I had never thought of contrasting the mission and role of the Gambling Commission to the Lottery and the Horse Racing Commission, and that was very informative and sheds a lot of light on things. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much, Commissioner. Appreciate it. And thank you. Someone's hand is up.
Representative Kloba?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the presentation that my colleague created for us and really delineated all of the roles. I know I was recently at the National Council of Legislators from Gambling States. I'm the secretary on their board, and there was quite a lot of energy and conflicting opinions on some future roles of gambling or some opportunities with regard to, for instance, online, 24/7 in your phone, on your phone, in your pocket, gambling. And the debate rages on about what is the role in, like as in our Gambling Commission, to keep it legal and honest. And so the illegal gambling that is happening in that particular format of gambling is of great concern to me. And I think there's basically two approaches: either legalize all of it, which then I think has a great deal of issues, or you make sure that you establish that nexus and prosecute all of that illegal, harmful gambling that is going on. So I know that as it increases, the pressures will increase on the Gambling Commission, and I will just state now, I hope that we very much keep in mind the problem gambling issues that would arise from constant access to gambling, given that also I know that Representative Stearns also mentioned that generally speaking, people in Washington feel like they have enough access to gambling. So I appreciate your presentation, and thank you for the opportunity to share my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Kloba. Senator Conway? Senator Conway, I see you have your hand raised.
I'm Mike here again. Chris, I just have a question. The gambling industry has been growing in our state. We have more people employed in that industry than ever before. We have seen a lot of expansion of gambling, and it's become a major industry. And I know our statute is very clear upon our role in preventing, illegal gambling from going on. But I guess my question for you as a legislator and as an ex-commissioner is that where do we have a conversation about the growth of this industry in our state? And because we do have committees in the legislature that are designed to basically deal with the compacts, which they primarily do. But where do we have the conversation about the growth of gambling, the gambling industry in Washington State? Because I think that, again, I'll go back to the problem gambling task force was trying to to basically address just one particular issue there, and that was the issue of problem gambling. But where do we have the conversation on the growth of the gambling industry in Washington State? And I ask you that of you because I know now you're a legislator, and I know that you and I served together on the Gambling Commission as well. So that's a question for you.
Thank you, Senator. That's a $1 million question. I would say there are two things where the legislature would have a conversation, but one of them clearly involves the governor. So, on the regulated side, tribal gaming has really grown. And I think that was, if you look at IGRA, the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, that was the point of it. I mean, it was to build tribal economic independence and tribal economic sovereignty. So the growth of tribal gaming is what we wanted, or what the federal government wanted. And I think that's, we just negotiate. We can't make demands of tribes. The tribes are equals when it comes to compact negotiations. So that's a discussion between the tribes, the state, well, really the governor and the tribes. But I think it's working the way it's supposed to. I would say the other thing, though, is definitely on the unregulated side. I mean, the reality is, at this conference I was just at this week, I think I heard 25 billion is regulated sports marketing, sports betting, wagering market in the United States. 75 billion is the unregulated market. So the black and gray. So yeah, gambling is growing exponentially in the nation and the world, but certainly in our state. And if we don't start talking about the unregulated growth in our state, we're totally missing the boat. It is really growing. It's just not growing in a way that we're totally monitoring. Our state has a pretty robust counterintelligence, role, and I think that's a real advantage that the state has, that the Gambling Commission has, to track gray and black market gambling. But it's happening, and that's definitely worth looking at. Is there something we can do? It is hard to, I was really proud when I joined to hear of our role in Black Friday. We played an essential role in shutting down international illegal poker sites, or at least bringing them under regulation. But that requires a lot of coordination with other states, with federal agencies, and international. None of this really works without having Interpol or other international jurisdictions involved, because those sites are, publishing their content from the Caribbean, from Asia, from Eastern Europe, you name it. So there is a role, but that's definitely something that I think you as commissioners might want to, ask the commissioner, the directors, and the people running this place, what can we do, and is it worth reopening conversations with other jurisdictions? But that growth in unregulated black market digital gaming, it is huge, and there are always new products. We're complaining about prediction markets now, but it'll be a different product in 2 years. So again, God bless you, and I'm just grateful that I had a chance to serve on this commission, and I'm so glad you all are here too.
Thank you, Representative Stearns.